To our top story this morning, Taliban sweep across Afghanistan continues as we speak. Over two-thirds of the country is being controlled by Taliban. So far, 18 out of 34 provincial capitals have fallen in the hands of Taliban. Kandahar, the second largest city, and Herat, the third largest city, are now being controlled by Taliban at the moment. The only major city under Ashraf Ghani's rule is Kabul. With provinces falling like pack of cards, people are out on streets. They're demanding Afghanistan's president's resignation. With Taliban just 90 kilometers away from capital Kabul, President Ghani will be addressing the nation today. India Today has learned that the address is most likely going to be on how the transition might take place. Taliban's sweep across southern Afghanistan continues as they took 4 more provincial capitals in a lightning offensive. At least 18 of the 34 provincial capitals have fallen, and they've fallen like a pack of cards. The biggest amongst them being Kandahar and Herat. The Pakistan-backed terrorists are now encircling Kabul. Some reports say that the Taliban are just 80 kilometers away from Afghan capital. The Taliban now controls more than two-thirds of the country, just weeks before the US plans to withdraw its last troops. Take a look.
Taliban terrorists on an armored vehicle driving through the Shahideen Square in Kandahar. The capture of Kandahar and Herat, the country's second and third largest cities, represent Taliban's 2 biggest military victories since they began their offensive in May. The deadly insurgency is fast turning into a rout of the Afghan National Army. Kandahar is particularly a heavy blow to the Afghan government. This is the heartland of the Taliban ethnic Pashtun fighters who emerged in the province in 1994 amidst the chaos of civil war. Of Afghanistan's major cities, the government still holds Mazar-e-Sharif in the north and Jalalabad near the Pakistani border in the east, and of course, capital Kabul. Taliban are now in full control of 14 of 34 provincial capitals after the collapse of Lashkar Gah, the capital of the Helmand province. The US intelligence assessment is that Taliban could try and isolate Kabul in the next 30 days and possibly take it over in under 90. Displaced people of Afghanistan have set up camps in parks in Kabul. The gateway to the capital has been choked with people fleeing violence elsewhere in the country. So desperate is the situation that late Thursday, the United States announced sending 3,000 frontline infantry soldiers back into Afghanistan to help evacuate the US embassy in Kabul. 3 infantry battalions are being redeployed in Afghanistan as of now.
So are you concerned they're going to be under attack?
As in all cases, our commanders will have the right of self-defense, and any attack upon our forces will be met with a swift and appropriate response.
The United Kingdom too has announced they will send in 600 soldiers to help evacuate British personnel, diplomats and staff from their mission in Afghanistan. The speed of the Taliban advance has sparked widespread anger over US President Joe Biden's decision to withdraw troops and leave Afghanistan to fight it out alone. Bureau Report, India Today.
As the Afghanistan crisis worsens, Indians and Indian assets are also at risk. After the fall of Herat, the Taliban claimed to have captured the India-Afghanistan Friendship Dam that was inaugurated by Prime Minister in 2016. It's not just the Indian assets that are in jeopardy. Pakistan-backed Taliban could prove to be a serious security nightmare. Take a look.
India has joined Germany, Qatar and Turkey in calling for an immediate ceasefire in Afghanistan and asserting that any government imposed by military force in Kabul will not be recognized. As Afghanistan's descent into absolute chaos continues, Indians and Indian assets are already under attack. The Ministry of External Affairs has advised all Indians working in Afghanistan to not only register with the Indian Embassy in Kabul, but also return to India till the situation stabilizes. The Taliban racing to power in Afghanistan will have major consequences for the region. India has already invested more than $3 billion in aid and reconstruction activities in the country, from their parliament building to schools, hospitals, roads, infrastructure and dams. Taliban have already captured an Mi-24 attack helicopter that India had gifted to Afghan forces in 2019. However, reports suggest that Afghan forces removed the blades of the helicopter before surrendering to Taliban so that it cannot be used by the terrorists. One of Afghanistan's biggest dams, the Afghan-India Friendship Dam on the Harirudh River in Herat, has also been captured after the fall of the third largest city. Inaugurated by Prime Minister Modi and Ashraf Ghani in 2016, it was the main source of electricity and irrigation water for hundreds of thousands of people in western Afghanistan.
All violence must come to an end. And ties with international terrorism should also be cut. And we cannot have terrorist scams once again moving back into Afghanistan. And this will have a direct impact on India. It's important for us to protect the gains which we have had in the last nearly 20 years.
Main players in Afghanistan.
A hostile power in Kabul would be advantage Pakistan. The pro-Taliban sentiment in Pakistan is growing stronger, which may try to harm India in the near future. India's main challenge, however, will come when Pakistan shifts the terror training camps of terror groups like Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed to Taliban-occupied Afghanistan for future terror strikes against India.
Right now, the onus is on Pakistan to create such a conducive atmosphere, including by taking credible and verifiable action not to allow any territory under their control to be used for cross-border terrorism against India.
A China-Pakistan-Taliban alliance might become an insurmountable national security challenge if China is able to integrate Afghanistan into BRI and CPEC and fully exploit its natural resources. India's leverage in the region will weaken. Bureau Report, India Today.
Just a day ahead of Independence Day, intelligence has hinted at a big terror plot to bleed India by terrorists based out of Pakistan. From Kashmir to Delhi, security has been beefed up as India is now on a terror alert. Arvind Oja with this report.
India's on a terror alert. With Independence Day on Sunday, vigil has been stepped up across cities. Multiple intelligence inputs have warned of a big terror plot to bleed India by Pakistan-based terrorists. India today has accessed 4 crucial intelligence inputs on the impending threat around the 15th of August by Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba, both sheltered by Pakistan. The reports say terrorists are on the move, eyeing an opportunity to infiltrate ahead of Independence Day. 6 Lashkar-e-Taiba terror commanders under Muhammad Sadiq are currently hiding in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir's Kotli region, planning to infiltrate. 5 Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists are also camping in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and have been tasked to carry out IED blasts at forward locations along the line of control. At least 4 Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists are planning to move towards the valley from Pakistan-occupied Kashmir's Tundwala forest area. From Jammu and Kashmir to the national capital, the entire nation remains on high alert.
लोगों को फैसिलिटेट करने के लिए, सिक्योरिटी इन्वायरमेंट को और स्ट्रॉन्ग करने के लिए हम लोग इंटरनेट को बंद नहीं कर रहे हैं। फिशिंग चेक हो रहा है, लेकिन पब्लिक को कोई दिक्कत नहीं हो रही, लोग आ रहे हैं, पार्टिसिपेट करेंगे। जहाँ तक ड्रोन की बात की, ये टेक्नोलॉजिकल थ्रेट है, इसको टेक्नोलॉजी की तरफ हम लोग रिस्पॉन्स कर रहे हैं। उसमें हमारे पास पुलिस के पास ड्रोन्स है, CRPF के पास है, आर्मी के पास है। रिसोर्सेज को पूल करके हम लोग जो सेंसिटिव एरिया है उसमें हम लोग सर्वे कर रहे हैं। कहीं कोई एंटी सोशल एलिमेंट का मूवमेंट नहीं हो, टेररिस्ट का खास मूवमेंट नहीं हो, चाहे कोई लॉ एंड प्रॉब्लम में क्रिएट करे, तो उसको निगरानी करने के लिए हम लोग प्रोएक्टिव एक्शन में रहा है।
In Jammu, intelligence inputs indicate that terrorists could try and target temples to stoke communal violence.
Raghunath Temple has been attacked by terrorists twice in 2002, and that is why it's a very sensitive place. Hundreds of devotees, both locals as well as tourists, come here to pay obeisance at this temple. So the security forces are not taking any chances. They are verifying the documents of the commuters. They are doing checking, thorough checking of the vehicles.
The forces are on alert.
रघुनाथ टेम्पल में खास करके हमने उसके सिवा भी बाकी मंदिरों में भी हमने अपना सिक्योरिटी ग्रिड जो है उसको स्ट्रेंथन किया है। वहाँ पे हमारी पुलिस पर्सनल और अलॉन्ग विद आवर सिस्टर एजेंसीज वी आर कीपिंग आई ओवर दीज टेम्पल्स और बाकी रिलीजियस प्लेसेस पे, ताकि यहाँ पे कोई भी ऐसा इंसिडेंस ना हो।
किसी भी प्रकार का कोई डर नहीं है, हमें अपने देश की सुरक्षा व्यवस्था पे और जम्मू कश्मीर की पुलिस पे पूरा भरोसा है। तो दिल के अंदर कोई भी डर भय नहीं है। हमने अभी रघुनाथ जी के दर्शन किए हैं, किसी भी प्रकार का मतलब 1% भी अपने किसी चीज़ का डर नहीं है, और दिल में खुशी है कि हम इस मौके पे यहाँ पे आए हैं।
There have been several attempts in Jammu and Kashmir ahead of Independence Day. The role of elements across the line of control was further established with the killing of a Pakistani terrorist in Kulgam on Friday. The security forces recovered rocket-propelled grenades and a rocket launcher not seen in the valley for quite some time. With Arvind Ojha in Delhi and Sunil Ji Bhatt in Jammu, Bureau Report, India Today.
India has built its first and biggest warship. Its name is INS Vikrant. The Swadeshi aircraft carrier is currently under sea trials. India Today is the first channel on board the Indian Navy's new marvel. Here's our exclusive report from newly built INS Vikrant.
The distant winds of India's independence have brought our young nation a great distance. As the world's largest democracy navigates the modern age, one stain remains on the armor of our national security. The fact that India remains one of the biggest importers of defense equipment. But this month, in a battle cry of enormous proportions, India signaled to the world that Swadeshi muscle in defense isn't some distant pipe dream. In an unmissable 40,000-ton message, Vikrant, India's first Swadeshi aircraft carrier, sailed out from her construction berth and went out to sea. And Battlecry is now the first crew to get on board India's biggest home-built warship for this special report. After a long wait, Vikrant went to sea for the first time. Sea trials along with helicopter operations considered the first big breakthrough of this brand new vessel. The mammoth warship will be ready to be commissioned next year into the eagerly awaiting Indian Navy. This takes India into a select club of 7 countries: the US, UK, France, Russia, Italy and China that have the capability to design and build such a complex warship. The Indian Navy's previous aircraft carriers, the original Vikrant and then the Virat, and now the Vikramaditya, were acquired first from the UK and then Russia. As per naval tradition, ships never die, and in keeping with this, the indigenous aircraft carrier will be back in its new avatar with the same name, Vikrant. India's first aircraft carrier, acquired from the United Kingdom in 1961, that was decommissioned later, was also called Vikrant. The new Vikrant is expected to live up to its name, that means victorious and gallant.
The long-cherished dream of having an indigenous aircraft carrier has almost come true, and very soon INS Vikrant will be sailing in the seas.
An aircraft carrier is basically a mini floating airbase at sea, which sets it apart from other warships in terms of operations, reach and complexities.
The aircraft carrier, as I mentioned, is central to a concert operation. So this will, as part of our force levels, add to the versatility of our operations both in wartime and peacetime. So I think this ship will play its role, and even more importantly, being indigenous. It's a symbol of Atmanirbhar Bharat. It's a very potent symbol of the government's drive for Atmanirbhar Bharat. And when another country sees that such a sophisticated and potent warship has been designed and built in India, it will itself act as a symbol, as a deterrent, as a projection of our power, of the capability of the country. And therefore, I think it is very important in more ways than one.
In spite of India's glorious maritime heritage, there was no indigenous warship design or warship building capability at the time of independence in 1947. The indigenous aircraft carrier Vikrant is 262 meters long, 62 meters at the widest part, with a depth of 30 meters minus the superstructure. There are 14 decks in all, including 5 in that superstructure above the aviation deck. The ship has over 2,300 compartments, designed for a crew of around 1,700 personnel, including specialized cabins to accommodate women officers when embarked. While the final touches to construction are still happening, the ship managed to go to sea with 1,200 personnel on board.
This sea trial was essential for the ship to evaluate the way she keeps the handling of the ship, the performance of machinery and various other equipment. So this gave an opportunity for us not just to try the seakeeping qualities of the ship, but also the machinery in the entire spectrum of her exploitation, and other ancillaries including the various RO plants and other machinery were also put through the paces of trial.
The ship's top speed is around 28 knots and cruising speed about 18 knots. With an endurance of 7,500 nautical miles, she can cover the entire coastline of India twice without any requirement of refueling.
A massive BJP versus Aghadi government showdown has erupted over Janmashtami celebrations in Maharashtra. The Uddhav Thackeray government has put in place SOPs for Janmashtami celebrations to take place by August 10. But the move has triggered fresh war of words between the ruling BJP and the Maha-Aghadi Sarkar. BJP MLA Ram Kadam has hit out at the Thackeray government over its decision to allow liquor shops to reopen. The BJP leader has said that the Aghadi government is asking people to not celebrate the Dahi Handi Utsav. Kadam declared that his party is going to be celebrating Janmashtami with full fervour, keeping COVID norms in mind. The BJP leader's declaration has evoked strong criticism from the Aghadi government. The Thackeray government has warned against violating COVID-related protocols.
हिंदू विरोधी कोई भी फैसला हम महाराष्ट्र सरकार का नहीं सुनेंगे। भगवान कृष्ण के जन्म का उत्सव श्री कृष्ण जन्माष्टमी हम धूमधाम से मनाएंगे। जरूर सरकार कोई नियम बना सकती है कोविड को लेकर, हम उन नियमों का पालन करेंगे।
अगर बीजेपी के विधायक मोदी जी का नहीं सुन रहे हैं तो इससे ज्यादा और कुछ बुरा हो नहीं सकता। लेकिन जो नियम बनाए जाएंगे उस पर अमल करना सबकी जिम्मेदारी रहेगी। अगर अमल नहीं होगा तो निश्चित रूप से प्रशासन उन पर कार्रवाई करेगा।
There's breaking news coming in. No end to Captain Sidhu feud in Punjab. 2 days after Sidhu, now his advisor is training guns at the Chief Minister Amrinder Singh. Sidhu's advisor Malvinder Singh Mali has accused Amrinder of creating communal tensions in the state in collusion with Prime Minister Modi and Home Minister Amit Shah. Malvinder made his comments in a Facebook post hours before he was named by Sidhu as one of his advisors. This is the Punjab Congress crisis we're talking about. Implosion within the Congress party, And that's the latest coming in at the moment. We'll continue updating the story as we go along the way. There is no end to horror in the hills. Landslide continues to rock Himachal Pradesh. A landslide was caught on camera where boulders can be seen hitting Himachal transport bus. Several passengers had a narrow escape. The video of the incident has gone viral on social media. The incident occurred in Kinnaur, the same area where deadly landslide had claimed 15 lives on Wednesday. In a horrific incident, a portion of NH13 has been completely washed away at Sirki near Pasighat in Arunachal Pradesh. The landslide has now disconnected the road, disrupting connectivity of several districts of Arunachal Pradesh. Welcome back. The Lord's Test between India and England is nicely poised after the completion of the second day. India started the day poorly with Rahul and Ajinkya departing within 6 runs of India's overnight score of 276. Rishabh Pant, Ravindra Jadeja, the last recognised pair, then got a partnership going, but Pant departed for 37 after edging behind a Mark Wood delivery. Jadeja lost Mohammad Shami soon after, but India managed to keep the scoreboard ticking with Ishant Sharma helping the visitors with a much-needed resistance. However, Ishant's downfall and the hands of James Anderson opened the floodgates, with India losing their final 3 wickets for just 2 runs. Anderson finished with yet another 5th wicket haul, his 31st in Test. England found themselves on the ropes after Mohammad Siraj took 2 wickets in 2 balls with only 23 runs on the board, but Rory Burns and captain Joe Root steadied in the ship with an 85-run partnership. Shami, though, provided the much-needed breakthrough before the end of the play, trapping Rory in front as the hosts finished the day at 119 for 3.
Brilliant again from Shami. He's reviewed it. It's gone upstairs. He's given him.
It's a wrap from me, Chaiti Narula. For more news and updates, don't forget to log on to indiatoday.in or download our app.
You are watching India Today.